Hello, 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 everybody. Can everybody hear me? Let me know in the chat and we will go ahead and get started. I'm seeing everyone saying hello in the chat. Hello, everybody. Hello. All right. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. All right. So, like I said, hello everyone, and welcome to another week of our ICD-10-CM Guideline Mastery sessions. I'm Miss Haley. I'm going to be your lead instructor for this class, and I'm so excited, as always, to welcome everyone to our Monday night class. I cannot believe I am saying this, but we are already on week 8. Time is flying by. And today we will be going over and reviewing some signs, symptoms, injuries, external causes, and encounters. Those are the guidelines we're going to be focusing on today. This is going to specifically be chapter 18 through 21. And as always, I'm going to be using our ICD-10-CM guidelines and also referencing our MCG manual in this session as well. So make sure that you have both of those handy if you can. We are going to stick to the same flow as last class. So we're going to be doing some Jeopardy games. We're going to be doing our Quizlet game to test our coding guideline mastery skills. And I will quickly go over and show the guideline references after, so we can use this little video as a tool, as always. So without further ado, let's get started. We can go ahead and read our copyright if my computer will participate. Oh, not yet. All right. So, as always, our copyright, ICD-10-CM Copyright 2026, American Medical Association, all rights reserved. Fee schedules, relative value units, conversion factors, and/or related components are not assigned by the AMA, are not part of CPT, and the AMA is not recommending their use. The AMA does not directly or indirectly practice medicine or dispense medical services. The AMA assumes no liability for data contained or not contained. ICD-10-CM is a registered trademark of AAPC. AAPC content found within this presentation is copyright of AAPC, keyword concept FTR, Chun, AMCI Fab 7, AMCI ICD-10, Flip, TAP, and MCG are trademarks of AMCI. The credentials CPC, CRC, COC, CPMA, CPB, CPPM, CPCO are owned by AAPC. AMCI does not own the rights to these credentials. The credentials CCA, CCS, CCS-P, RHIA, RHIT are owned by AHIMA. AMCI does not own the rights to these credentials. Whew, that was a mouthful. All right. And we are going to go ahead and begin our warm-up Jeopardy game. We are going to do what we did last time. I'm going to stop sharing my screen and go ahead and grab that game so we can get started. Let me see. So we're going to do the version that we did last time where it's all going to be true or false. All right, let's go ahead and cancel this. And then you can join the live game if you want. But if you would rather just play and put your answers in the chat, like some of you guys did last time, you are more than welcome to do that as well. However you want to interact, as long as you are putting answers in, we are happy that you are doing it. All right, let's go ahead. Perfect. All right, so the way you can enter, what? I don't want to play a theme song. What's going on? So how you can enter, you can use this QR code and scan and type in this PIN number, or you can go on triviamaker.com if you would rather do that as well and enter in the PIN number. I will post the PIN number in the chat so you guys can see that. Let me see. 553972. All right. There we go. So yes, so you can play this way if you want to get a little competitive with other people, or you can always put your answers in the chat. You are more than welcome to do that as well. I'll give this a few seconds and then we will go ahead and get started so that we have time to do all of our scenarios. I know that we almost ran out of time last time, so we don't want to do that, but I will give it a few more seconds. And while we're waiting on people to join, while we're giving it a few seconds, I want you guys to put in the chat, how are we feeling? Week 8, what do you guys feel most confident as far as guidelines go? What guidelines do you guys think that you really have down? Which guidelines are you guys feeling super confident about? You are really doing absolutely amazing as far as all of these true or false and all these scenarios go. And I know that I definitely am looking at our Thursday guided YouTube course as well, and I can see you guys using those guidelines as well. I feel confident that I can read them. Yes, we love that. That's awesome. Yeah, I see you guys in the Thursday YouTube guided class, and I know sometimes those require looking at guidelines, and so I'm always, super proud when I see you guys using the guidelines. All right. We are going to go ahead and get started if it will let me. Hello. Hmm. That's a little weird. Why is it doing that? I hope if I refresh it, it's not going to kick everybody off. What does that do? Copied link? Oh no. I would just like to start. Okay, if I refresh, I really hope it doesn't kick everyone off. Oh no, please don't kick everyone off. Oh my goodness gracious. That's very strange. Hmm. That's weird. It's not letting me do it. Okay, so we're just going to have everyone put their answers in the chat. I'm so sorry, everybody. We're just going to put our answers in the chat so we're not wasting a bunch of time. But you guys are awesome at putting your answers in the chat, so we can just do that instead because trivia wants to be cranky today. All right, so sorry about that, guys. Okay, so we will go ahead and get started with this. So the guidelines trip me up, but that's okay. At least when you're when you're doing your certification from me, you can always guidelines and you can always reference them. I'm so happy that we don't have to memorize all of these million guidelines because that would be crazy. So, like I said, we're doing chapters 18 through 21. So, oh, it did not save the categories. I love that. Okay. So, the category 1 is going to be I'm going to combine chapters 18 and 19. And then category 2 is going to be chapter 20, and category 3 is going to be chapter 21. So we will start with chapter 18 and 19. We'll go for 100. And these are all going to be true or false. So just put your answers in the chat. So our first question, true or false, if a patient has a burn of the same site or the same side but has a different degree of burn, code to the highest degree recorded. Is this going to be true or false? If a patient has a burn, same site or side, but has a different degree of burn, code to the highest degree recorded. And I am going to do 25 seconds. I'm going to have my timer here so I don't go over. I'm going to do 25 seconds for each question because I want to be able to get through all the explanations with our scenarios this time so we're not rushing through. So yes, true or false? We got about 5 seconds left. Wow, this 25 seconds is going by super fast. All right. So the answer to this one is going to be true. Amazing job. Everyone is putting that in the chat. That was a great first question. Amazing job, guys. Amazing start. All right. I'm so sad that the chapters didn't save. All right. So we're going to go category 2. So this is going to be chapter 20, and we will do 300. True or false? If the intent, so for example, accident, self-harm, or assault of the injury or condition is unknown or unspecified, code as an accident. Again, if the intent of the injury is unknown or unspecified, code as an accident. I will change it to 30 seconds because I need to get through the question. All right, and again, this is going to be chapter 20. So this is chapter 20 is going to be all the external cause codes. If the intent of the injury is unknown, what are we thinking? How do we code it? All right, getting a lot of answers. All right, this one is actually going to be true. And I will, as always, go over the guideline that I chose for this question. I'm just taking them right out of the ICD-10 and the MCG book. So this is going to be found specifically under chapter 20 because that's the category that we're on right now. But I'll go into further detail after this. All right, let's do a category 3 for 100. So this is going to be chapter 21. All right, so chapter 21. Personal history codes indicate a past condition that is not resolved and needs monitoring. Is this going to be true or false? Okay, Miss Leslie, I see you looking at the exact guideline that I was just putting that in there. Awesome. Very investigative. I love it. All right. So yes, true or false? Personal history codes indicate a past condition that is not resolved and needs monitoring. True or false? I'm still going to give you guys about 30 seconds, even though the answers are already flying in for this one. Great job. Yes, this is going to be like all of the, I feel like week 8 is kind of all of the miscellaneous guidelines. That's how I think of it. All right. And this one is going to indeed be false. Amazing job. I think everyone got that one right. That is absolutely awesome. Yes, this would be right. This would be incorrect because personal history codes indicate a past condition that is resolved but may reoccur and needs monitoring. So that's what makes that one false. And everyone knew that because everyone got that one right. Outstanding. All right, since everyone got that one right, let's do a 400 question. We're going to go back to chapter 18 and 19. All right, so true or false, signs and symptoms integral to a definitive diagnosis should always be coded. Is this going to be true or false? So this is from chapter 18 and 19. I think this one specifically is chapter 19. But yes, signs and symptoms that are integral to a diagnosis, should they always be coded? I'll give you guys about. All right. Oh, wow. And we're providing explanations as well. Outstanding. Give you guys about 10 more seconds. All right. I thought this was going to be a tough one, but everyone, oh, snap. Everyone got that one right. It was false. I just clicked a little too fast. So it is going to be false. as everyone put, which is absolutely amazing. So, yes, so from chapter 18 and 19, it says that signs and symptoms that are integral to a definitive diagnosis should not be coded because they're already in the diagnosis. So, if someone has a cough, but they come in for something like a cold, you know that that's already a part of it. So, you don't need to use extra codes because that's going to be unnecessary. So, that is false. Outstanding, everyone. All right, let's go back to our chapter 20. Let's do a 100. Alrighty. True or false? External causes of morbidity are not diagnoses. They are codes used to describe the circumstances leading and or surrounding a condition, an infection, a disease, or an injury. So yes, and I'll give you guys 30 seconds before I start blabbing. All right. So like I said, chapter 20 is going to be all external causes of morbidity. So true or false, external causes are not diagnoses. They describe a circumstance. I'll give you guys about 10 more seconds for this one. Alrighty. Outstanding. You guys are killing this game. I am so impressed. This is going to be true, which everyone got right. So amazing. Yes, external causes, they are not diagnoses. They just describe the circumstance leading to. Awesome job, everybody. We are doing great on this warm up. All right, well then let's hit a 400 then from our category 3 or chapter 21. All right. True or false? Do not use a status code if a diagnosis code already includes the status information. And again, this is from chapter 21. So do not use a status code. Ooh, I always keep forgetting to do my little timer. All right, 30 seconds. So do not use a status code if a diagnosis code already includes the status information. True or false? What is everyone thinking? All right, this 30 seconds goes by super fast. All right, so the answer to this is going to be true. Great job. Again, I think everyone got this one right. So yes, we are not using status codes if a diagnosis code already includes that status information because we don't need more codes than we need. Outstanding indeed. All right, let's go back to chapter 20. Let's do a 200. All right, more external cause codes. All right, so true or false? External cause codes can never be first listed or principal diagnosis. Right. Think of what an external code is, an external cause code is, and can it never be first listed or principal diagnosis? Is this going to be true or false? All right. Amazing. This one is true. Yes, because yes, so this cannot be used as first listed or a principal. It is always going to be secondary. It's never going to be a principal. So great job if you got that right. I mean, you guys are just knocking this out of the park. I know I keep saying it, but I'm just so impressed. All right. Let's go back to chapter 18 and 19. We'll do a 300. All right. And this is going to be comas. So, true or false, if multiple coma scores are captured within the first 24 hours after admission, assign only the score at the time of admission. All right, so if a patient goes in with a coma and it's changing, are we assigning only the score at the time of admission? True or false? Again, you guys got about 30 seconds. All right. These answers are flying in. Let's see what we got. This one is going to be true. I thought this one was a little bit tricky because you're kind of thinking, do I do the one in admission or do I code the highest degree? Because I know sometimes that kind of looks different depending on the case, but this is going to be true. So, yes, within the first 24 hours, if the coma scores are changing, you're going to assign only the score at the time of the admission. Great job, everyone. All right. Let's do chapter 21. Let's do a 200. All right, and this is going to be Z codes. So, true or false? Z codes are not diagnostic and should not be paired with a procedure code if a procedure is performed. So, true or false? Again, this is going to be, whoops, forgot my timer again. All right, yeah, so this is going to be Z codes, and this is going to be chapter 21. If you're looking for it in your ICD-10 or your MCG manual, I'll give you guys about 20 seconds for this one. All right, all right. So this one is going to be false. So this one is all kinds of false. So in chapter 21 specifically, it says that Z codes are diagnostic and must be paired with a procedure code if a procedure is performed. So that is what makes this one false. And as always, I will go over what specific guideline in chapter 21 that we are referencing after this. All right, let's get rid of this 401 from chapter 20. All right, let's see what this is. All right, so as always, true or false. So if two or more events cause separate injuries, only one external cause code should be assigned, and it should be assigned for the most severe cause. So I know that's a lot of words. So this one's going to be true or false. As always, chapter 20, we're going to be doing our external cause codes. I'll give you guys about 30 seconds to look it over. All right, I'm getting a lot of answers in the chat. Amazing job. So, yes, this one is going to be false. It is going to be false because in chapter 20 in the guidelines, it says if two or more events cause separate injuries, an external cause code should be assigned for each cause. So, we're not combining anything. If two or more events cause separate injuries, we are assigning a code for each cause. So that is what makes this false. But I'm pretty sure everyone got this one right. Everyone caught that. So great job. You guys are like little investigators with these guidelines. So great job. All right. We'll go back to chapter 18 and 19. All right. So, true or false, code all superficial injuries associated with a more severe injury. Is this going to be true or is this going to be false? Are we coding superficial injuries that are associated with a severe injury? What do we think? I think I'm going to give you about 30 seconds. Alrighty. So the answer for this is going to be false. I don't know why. I don't know how it worked out that way. I'm just clicking on all the false questions in a row. I promise I'm not doing it on purpose. So, yes. So this one is false. If you look through, I don't know if it's chapter 18 or 19, but if you look in the guidelines under those, it says that you are to not code superficial injuries associated with a more severe injury. We're going to be focusing on the severe injury, not the superficial injuries. So it says specifically to not code. So that is what makes that one false. And if you got that, amazing job. And we just have one more left. You guys have been doing awesome so far. Let's end on a good note. All right. Whoop. All right. So this is going to be from chapter 21. So true or false? Z23 is the appropriate code for encounters for vaccinations and inoculations. I know that you're not supposed to memorize all of these specific codes, so I'll give you guys about 35 seconds for this one if you need to do a little research in your MCG manual or in your ICD-10. But yes, this is going to be from chapter 21. And are we thinking true or false for this one? I'll give you guys about 35 seconds. All right. Outstanding. Outstanding. I knew that this one was going to be a little bit more difficult because it's a very specific code, but indeed, this one is going to be true. That was a great job, everyone. Way to end that session on a great note. All right. That was awesome. All right. We cleared the board. So that was a great warm up. I'm going to stop sharing my screen and I'm going to go ahead and grab my PowerPoint back just so we can quickly click through all of the guideline references that I was using just in case you guys want to come back to this video and get a little bit more practice. All right, perfect. Okay, so yes. Whoop. So, oh, well, maybe if I didn't do that. Okay, so yes, so here is, it's not category 1, 2, and 3. These were the specific, so chapter 18 is going to be symptoms, signs, and abnormal findings not elsewhere classified. So the R00 to R99. And chapter 19 is injury, poisoning, and certain other consequences of external causes. This is going to include like burns and stuff like that. And I know that there are a lot of questions that reference burns. So this would be an important chapter. So this is S00 to T88. And then these are going to be all of the guideline references that I used for this one. And then I went over why these ones were false over there, so we don't need to go over that again. All right. And chapter 20 is going to be all the external causes of morbidity. This is going to be codes V00 to V99. And then these are all of the questions, this is going to be the answers, and this is going to be the guideline references for those. And then our last category was going to be Chapter 21. And Chapter 21 specifically covers factors influencing health status and contact with health services. And then this is going to be all of your Z codes, so Z00 to Z99. Again, I like to say that this chunk of chapters is always like the miscellaneous chapters, all like the random ones. All right, so while we are looking at that, I'm going to stop sharing my screen, and then we are going to go to our Quizlet that we have been doing. We're going to go to our Quizlet, and we are going to go into some in-depth. We're going to do 3 scenarios, and we are going to go in-depth, super in-depth in those scenarios. We're going to do our keywords, we're going to do our guidelines, and then we're going to finish it off with doing the specific codes. All right, so this is going to be our first scenario for the night, right? Okay, yes, okay. So our first scenario of the night is going to be Marvin, a 28-year-old male, was rushed to the ED after being found unconscious. Information from family members indicate the patient had left a suicide note and taken a large amount of LSD, a hallucinogenic. What ICD-10-CM keywords are reported? So I'll give you guys about 45 seconds with that one. 30, 45 seconds. Oh my goodness, where is my stopwatch? All right, there we go. So yes, we are going to do keywords for this scenario. We're going to do our guideline for this scenario, and then we're going to do what code, and then I will move back to the PowerPoint so we can just see, how it looks all together. I like doing it this way just because you can really see, you can get a scenario and how you're going to break down each specific part so you can be 100% confident in the code that you are in the code that you're going to be selecting when you're taking that certification exam. Obviously, you're going to have to be a lot quicker, but once you get down the basics, you can go a little faster from there. All right, and then I'm getting some awesome answers in the chat. I'll wait for about one more, and then we will go ahead. All right, so the keywords for this one are going to be found unconscious. They're going to be the suicide and large amount of LSD. Those are definitely things to look out for with solving this scenario. All right, and then we are going to stick with the same scenario, and using those keywords, we are going to select what guideline that we're going to be picking in order to in order to find the codes for this. And I will go ahead and give you a hint because I know that sometimes finding this specific guideline is a little hard. So this is going to be specifically from Chapter 19. So the guideline that we're using to solve this is going to be from Chapter 19. But using the unconscious, the suicide note, and then the large amount of hallucinogenic, what guideline do you think that we're going to be reported for this? I'll give you guys another 45 seconds, and then we will go over it. All right, amazing job if you put your answer in the chat. So yes, this is going to be specifically guideline IC19E5B. So this is going to be the guideline for adverse effects, poisoning, underdosing, and toxic effects. The occurrence of drug toxicity is classified in the ICD-10 as followed. Poisoning. So if you got that one right, amazing. I know it's a little hard to find the guidelines. I always struggled with that one, believe it or not. All right. And then now that we have found the guideline, now that we have found the key words, we are going to put it together and we are going to look for what ICD-10-CM codes are going to be reported for this. So we're sticking with the 28-year-old male rushing to the ED, found unconscious, left a suicide note and taken a large amount of LSD. And what ICD-10 codes are we reporting for this? I'll again give you guys about 45 seconds and then we'll start going over it. All right, if you are still working on this, that is totally fine. Please keep working on it. I'm not going to give the answer right away. I'm just going to switch over to our PowerPoint so that we can go ahead and start looking at everything being put together. All right, so there we go. All righty. Okay, so here we have our scenario, and like we said, our keywords are going to be found unconscious, they're going to be the suicide note, and they're going to be large amount of LSD. The guideline that we're going to be using is right here. This is a clipping from the MCG manual specifically under our Chapter 19, injury, poisoning, and certain other consequences of external causes. So we are going to be using the effects of drug toxicity. So if you look, what I want everyone to focus on first is when you see these examples of poisoning right here. If you look right here, it says overdose of a drug intentionally taken. So when it says that, so it states that poisoning is reported right here. So using a code from T36 to T50. And then with keeping this right here in mind, the overdose of a drug intentionally taken, we're going to focus on that. And then that is going to lead us to our first code. So if you look at the ICD-10 table of drugs, you can also do it that way. If you look for LSD and select the code from poisoning and then going to intentional self-harm column, it directs you to the code. Whoop, come on now. Well, first it takes you to this because it requires a 7th character. So we're going to be using category T40.8x2. So this is going to be poisoning by lysergide, so LSD, intentional or self-harm. And then because it says that you need to have a 7th character, you're going to look right here where it says the appropriate 7th character is to be added to each from category T40. And we are using T40. And this is going to be the initial encounter. So we are going to be selecting character A. And then if you go back to our guideline, it says our second code is going to be poisoning manifestations. And so we look back at our keywords and the manifestation. So the reason why we found out, all of this is that he was originally found unconscious. So our manifestation is going to be that unconsciousness. So if you go to the ICD-10-CM alphabetic index and you go to unconsciousness, it states to see coma and then that is going to then direct you to R40.20, which is unspecified coma. And then also included in this is going to be unconsciousness not otherwise specified. So that is why we're going to be using that R40 code. And I see, after my explanation, I see that a bunch of people have gotten this right. If you got that one right, or if you just gave it a shot, absolutely outstanding. I love to see when keywords, guidelines all go together to find the right codes. So outstanding, everyone. That was great participation with that one. All right, and we are going to move on to our second code, or I'm so sorry, our second scenario. That was a great first scenario. So let's keep it up. All right. So going back to our Quizlet, we are going to look at our second scenario. Ooh, here we go. All right, so our second scenario, we are going to be doing keywords. We're going to start from the beginning again. So Mr. Middleton is coming in for a follow-up of a second-degree burn on the left forearm. The provider notes the burn is healing well. He is to come back in 2 weeks for continued care to check up on the healing of the burn. What ICD-10-CM keywords are going to be reported for this one? I'll give you guys about 45 seconds. All right. If you're still typing, I know that I cannot type the fastest, so that is totally fine. But I'm going to turn this around. So, keywords that I'm focusing on if I'm solving this scenario are going to be burn is healing. I'm also going to focus on the fact that they said a follow up. He's coming in for a follow up. And then also that second degree burn on the left forearm, which I see that a lot of people have put those in the chat. So, absolutely outstanding. All right. And then we are going to move on to the same scenario, and we're going to use those keywords. And now we are going to look for the guideline that is going to be reported. I didn't do this on purpose, but again, a little clue, it is going to be in chapter 19. Again, I think these are all chapter 19. I don't know why, but I guess I just did it like that. Yes, but this is going to be a guideline from chapter 19. I'll give you guys about 45 seconds with this one. Let me know what you think. All right. If you didn't get this one, if this one's a little bit of a head scratcher, that is okay. That is understandable. Again, finding the specific guideline always takes a little bit, so no worries at all if you didn't get that one. The specific code that we are going to be focusing on in this instance, amazing job, Miss Leslie, is going to be guideline IC19A. So this is going to be application of a seventh character in chapter 19. You kind of have to go into depth to look for the guideline with this one because it codes for the subsequent encounter. So you would again be looking that keyword as the follow up, and that is how you would find what guideline you're going to be using. But again, we will go over that and when we put all of this together. And then to finish this scenario off, we are going to stick again with the same scenario using that guideline from chapter 19 and using those keywords. What ICD-10-CM code is going to be reported for this specific scenario? I'll give you guys about 45 seconds and then we'll start going over it. Right. As always, if you are still working on this, then please go ahead. I am just going to switch over to our PowerPoint so that we can take a look. Oop, oopsies. Alrighty. Amazing. Okay. So, again, same scenario we are focusing on. Our keywords, like we said, are going to be burn is healing, it's going to be follow up, and it is going to be second degree burn on left forearm. The guideline that we have decided, and I kind of had to crop this because it's a very large guideline. So it's going to be again from chapter 19, our injury, poisoning, and certain other consequences of external causes. So IC19A, and this is going to be again the application of seventh character. All right, so this is going to be our guideline. It's a lot longer than this. I kind of just cut out the snippets that we're going to be focusing on, but you can go in the MCG manual if you want to look at the whole thing. And then as you see, since it says seventh character, you know that we're going to see the appropriate seventh character. And we are going to be choosing from our category T22. So since this is a subsequent encounter, I would say the follow-up is probably a really big keyword if you were kind of rating them of level of importance, because he has already completed the treatment and he's just coming in for routine care. And it also right here, I guess that could be another, yeah, the burn is healing well is another really important one, because it says that you have to look for the healing or recovery phase. So with that being said, that is going to point you in the direction of T22.212, which is going to be burn of second degree of left forearm. And then you're going to go ahead and use that D seventh character because it is a subsequent encounter. And you guys rocked that one. I'm seeing all kinds of codes or all kinds of right codes that you're putting in the chat. So that was absolutely amazing, guys. You guys killed that one. All right. So let's go ahead and focus on our last scenario of the night. All right. I will go ahead and grab our Quizlet again, and let's end on a great note. You guys have been rocking these chapters today. That is super awesome. All right, so we are back to our Quizlet, and we are going to move on to our next scenario, and we're going to start over again, and we're going to be pointing out the keywords. So the scenario is Owen, a 4-year-old, is brought to the burn unit after pulling a pot of hot soup off the stove and spilling it on himself. He sustained 18% second degree burns on her legs and 20% third degree burns. What? they're using the on his legs and 20% third degree burns on his chest and arms. Total body surface area burned is 38%. What ICD-10-CM keywords are reported for the burns? And so I want you guys to pay attention to this. So we're not going to include any external cause codes for the accident. So don't be focusing on that. So don't focus on the hot pot of soup on the stove. Just focus on the burning part when we're looking for the keywords. So not including the external cause codes, what keywords are we looking for? I'll give you guys about 45 seconds. All right. I know that is a lot to type. So if you're still finishing up typing before you put your answer in the chat, that is totally fine. And I am seeing a comment. Yes, Lucky. Definitely, I would say the biggest lesson from these chapters and especially these scenarios is definitely Um, look at those little red squares and make sure that there's not a seventh character. I know that there a lot of these kinds of codes that we're using in this week require a seventh code. So I would definitely always advise to make sure to look and make sure that you're coding to the highest possible degree of accuracy for sure. All right. So this is going to be the 18% second degree burns on the legs, the 20% third degree burns on the chest and the arms, and the total body surface area 30%. Yes, Miss All got marvelous indeed. Everyone got that one. So outstanding job. All right, and you know what's coming next. We are going to be doing our guideline. What guideline are we thinking? And I believe, yes, we are looking for a chapter 19. There's so many guidelines in chapter 19. This is going to be from chapter 19 as a little hint. So same scenario, but what ICD-10-CM guideline are we reporting for this burn injury? Again, I'll give you guys about 45 seconds and good luck. All right. Amazing job. So, yes. So, the guideline that we're going to be using for this is going to be IC19D1. If you are looking in the MCG, is going to be coding of burns and corrosions or sequencing of burn and related codes. So, if you got that right, outstanding. All right. And then finally, we are going to move to our final codes. So I would just like to say that I know that this requires quite a few codes. And I don't want to, I know that I'm going to give you guys just about 45 seconds to a minute, and that is a lot of time to look up, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 codes. So if you guys just want to sequence how you are coding. So if you want to just say like the first code's going to be this, you don't have to specifically look them up because I know that that would be a lot. So if that makes sense, just specific sequence are we going to be coding all of these codes? If you just want to put that in the chat, that is totally fine. And then we will go over all of this in about, like I said, 45 seconds to a minute. Yes, Miss Leslie, that is what I meant. That is what I meant. Yes. All right. And I will go ahead and switch over to our whoop, switch over to our PowerPoint so that we can go ahead and get this explanation. Because this is actually whoopsies. This is actually 5 codes that you're going to use for this, believe it or not. So I don't want you to have to look up each and every one. That would be super impressive, but I do not want you to have to do all of that. All right, so let us see. All right, so again, we're using the scenario that a 4-year-old spilled a pot of soup, 18% second degree burns on the legs. We can just 18% second degree burns on the legs, 20% third degree burns on chest and arms, total body surface being 38%. So the guideline that we're going to be using right here is going to be IC-19D1. So, and this kind of gives the sequence away, how you should be sequencing this, starting from third degree, then going to second, any first degree, and then EBSA. And EBSA is also stands for TBSA, which is going to be the total body surface area, just in case anyone was unsure of what that was standing for. And then the 5th would be the external cause code, but I put right here, you don't have to include the external cause codes because we're already going to be going over a lot. So, but that would be the 5th, that would be the last thing that you would code. So if you're doing the whole thing, the external code cause would be the pot of soup and spilling it on himself. That would be the external cause, and that would be what you would be coding last. But we're not going to be doing that. We're just going to be focusing specifically. We're going to focus specifically on the burns. So, and we're going to start off with the third degree burns. So the third degree burns are going to be on the chest and on the arms. That's going to be the 20%. So, oh, come on. So, and as you see, all of these burns, like I was just talking about, a 7th character being super important, all of these codes are going to require a 7th character. So, and this is going to be the A, the D, the S. All right, so our first thing that we are going to code is going to be the third degree is going to be the chest wall. So that is going to be code T21.31. And I cut off the thing, but it does include that you need a 7th character for that one. So you're going to be looking, at the T21.31XA. We're going to be using A as a 7th character for all of these codes because this is going to be an initial encounter because the 4-year-old is being just brought in for these burns. So we're going to use a 7th character of A for all of these, and you're just going to have to put X as a placeholder because this only goes to 5 codes. So T21.31XA, that's gonna count for our chest wall third degree. And then we are going to have to code, there's no code for just arms, both of them. So you have to have a code for the right arm, and then you're going to have to code for the left arm as well. And again, this is going to be a 7th character. So you're going to include the T22.391A because you're going to be using this 7th character. And this is going to account for the third degree of multiple sites on the right shoulder and upper limb. So that code is going to be for that. And then you have to code for your other arm because it says arms, not just one. And so you're going to be using T22.392A, which is going to be the 7th character. And then we're going to move on to our 2nd degree burns. So the 2nd degree burns, it says on his legs, and it says both legs. So we're again going to code for the right leg, and we're going to code for the left leg. So those are going to be codes T24.291A and T24.292A as well. And then after that, since we don't have any 1st degree burns, we're going to move on to the total body surface area. And that is going to take us to T31.32. And that's going to be the code for burns involving 30 to 39% of body surface with 20 to 29% 3rd degree burns. All right. So I know that was a lot, but when I took my CPC exam, I know that there were a few questions that were specifically burns. And I know it's intimidating because every time it's burns, there's like a whole lot of codes for it. But if you can look at this and you can break it down and you can come up with these codes without even having a multiple choice answer in front of you, then that means that you really understand, what you're doing. And that'll make you even more confident when you do take an exam because you'll know exactly what you're doing. So yes, this is going to be It would be, yes. So I'm just doing the 5, but this is not going to be including the external cause code. So yes, it would be more codes if you were including the external cause, but I feel like we're already going through all these 5 and I couldn't fit any more on the PowerPoint slide. So we're just going to be doing the burns and focusing specifically on that. So if you put in one of the codes or if you put in a guideline or a keyword for this, absolutely outstanding. We love, love, love the participation as always. All right. And that was our last scenario for the night. So that was a great end. That was amazing on y'all's part. Great job. Great job. All right, and since we have reached the end of our class, as always, we are going to put the link for, thank you so much, Miss Olga and Miss Dolly. We're going to put the link for the survey in the chat. Definitely make sure to click on that and give us some feedback. I know this is our week 8, which is so sad because we've been having such a great time, but for our next sessions, we want to know how we can improve. So definitely let us know how we did throughout this session, or if you have any questions, if you want me to go into detail about any questions or scenarios, definitely just put that in the survey as well, and I will get back to you. And from the bottom of my heart, thank you, thank you, thank you for attending this class. This has been like my ICD-10-CM baby, so I really appreciate all of the participation and you guys showing up every week and getting that practice in. I definitely am seeing the effort that you guys are putting in. It does not go unnoticed. Thank you so much to my team. And I will definitely be in some of the other live classes in the chat, cheering you guys on throughout the week. So definitely make sure to give those a check out for sure. And I hope to see you guys at some of the classes in the future. I hope that everyone has a wonderful rest of their Monday and a wonderful rest of their week. Thank you guys so much, and I hope that everyone has an absolutely amazing day.
4,000 exam passers and free classes at AMCI. Learn to code straight from home or on the road at AMCI.